We're good, Greg, and you're going to be just fine now because the Gators and the Steelers don't deliver. But you know who delivers? The Not Your Average Investor Show Tuesday edition, when it is live on Facebook right now. I am your host, Pablo Gonzalez. Today we have a huge day with my co-host, GC, the guy who is the general of this community. His name is Gregg Cohen. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you, Drill Sergeant. I appreciate that. That was a mixture of just absolute being very fired up and almost like it was like angry and excited. You're ready to rock.
I'm both one part angry, one part excited. I'm not angry at all, Greg. I'm just jacked up, bro. I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew out here. I'm in Miami. I'm drinking Cuban coffee. It's sugary. So I got my juices flowing. And we got Fan Appreciation Day today. We were just talking about the idea that you cannot have a Fan Appreciation Day if you're not a thing. And the fact that this show is a thing blows my mind. What do you think?
You know, you gotta be a thing, and you actually have to have at least one fan. And you know, if I was a betting man a year ago when you and I were sitting down and hashing out this concept, if we would, number one, be a thing, and then number two, have a single fan, I probably wouldn't have put a whole lot of money on
it. you would have bet the under, would you?
I would have bet the under of one. So yeah, this is just really, really fun. A great way to end the year, Pablo. This was an incredible idea. And I know you reached out to a few of our buddies here within the group and within the show. And I heard that, you know, the response was like almost instantaneous. Yeah, let's do it. So I'm just super appreciative of everybody, of this community. This is a time to relive the past year and think about all the fun things that happened, some of the challenges. I'm sure Pablo and I will talk about some of the mistakes we made along the way. And really, I think it'll be a really valuable learning lesson too, for a lot of those who might be new to the show. And maybe you didn't hear what happened in the first few months, but a ton of value, a ton of incredible interviews. So we're stoked.
I am stoked too, man. It's true. I'm glad we're going to recap because the community has grown, right? Like we've come a long way. But for anybody that's here for the first time, just so you know, we're not these weirdos that are always blowing smoke up each other's. Well, I mean, I do blow a lot of smoke up Greg's butt, but you know, we're not always just doing this. We're really here educating, inspiring, entertaining about all things real estate. If it's your first time joining us, you should know this show is driven by you, even on non-fan appreciation days. And there's two ways to interact with us. Number one is the chat, where we welcome all the comments in the world. We want y'all chatting with each other, chatting to us. There's a little trick in the chat. I'm like, what's going on in the chat already? Lee Bishop voted #1 fan. You gave him a run for his money, Maryland, just saying. But the way you interact with the chat is when it pops open, it defaults only to panelists. That blue box above it. Eddie from Hotlanta in the house. And the blue box above it just says panelists. If you can drop that down and put panelists and attendees, now everybody's talking to each other. Bill Shields, quick study. He's learning. He's doing it. And if you want a question asked on the show live to Greg, normally I ask you to go into the Q&A box, right? And then that's when I read out the questions. If you're here for the first time and you have a real estate related question that you really want Greg to answer, by all means, please still use that Q&A. Now, today we're trying something different on Fan Appreciation Day. There is a function where you can raise your hand. I am not 100% sure where it is on your screen. I believe it's on the bottom row. But if you want to come on the show, we are inviting you to come on and tell us either what your favorite episode was or what your biggest takeaway has been from, you know, however many shows you've watched, right? Greg and I are going to go into that. Jennifer fills in already using the raise the hand button. Jennifer, we're going to call on you in a second after I finish framing this. And we want to bring you on. We're going to bring you on screen, right? So like, make sure your camera's on. We're going to bring you on screen. Give us a little bit of story of what you've learned, what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show, if that's where you really want to go with it. Because at the end of the day, this is all for us to learn how to make this thing better for year 2, now that we're wrapping up year 1. And last but not least, we got a new thing that we are handing out these days. It's the Passive Income Guide. So if you are new to the show and you want to know more about passive investing and whatnot, go to www.jwbpassiveguide.com. Download that sucker, and you are gonna, get real good information to guide you on your investing journey. But without further ado, Greg, let's just kind of talk about it 1 second. You and I, it was around this time last year, we met up at Coop 303. for, I knew that you were hurting on creating content, right? Like I knew it was distracting your time. When we set out to do this, what were your expectations of what we were going to end up doing this year, and how has that compared?
So if I go back even before that meeting that we had, it had been about a year where I was fully committed to creating a framework to basically spend more time with our clientele, more time with our prospective clients, because I really believe there was a space for a community. I didn't know exactly what that meant though. And I looked at all these people online, kind of creating these communities or, doing these things, maybe it was a show or maybe it was a webinar series or whatnot. And I just knew that there was a place to do that where we could talk the way we talk, we could speak the way we speak, we could be real, we could spend time together, we could think about some of the concepts that are important to us here at JWB. And I just felt that there was a space for that, but I couldn't put the pieces of the puzzle together. And so what I was doing for the previous year before I came to you begging and pleading to share with me what your thoughts were on it, is I was just struggling. I was running around. Kate is our marketing coordinator here at JWB, and she was just telling the story with all of our marketing teammates before we jumped on here of like Kate running around with her phone, just like filming me, and I'd have like my Facebook Live going, and I was just doing this all the time. And it became a really, it was the first crack at it, but it became really stressful. And at the same time, I didn't see a whole lot of value being created for others as well, because it was not strategic. It was not set in stone. There was not a structure to it. And so when I came to you, I really just wanted to understand. I felt like there was a whole like world out there that people had figured it out. Like you look on social, and I guess you always feel like people have it figured out when they're like on social and they have some kind of structure there. And I just wanted to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So I remember over a drink, you were kind of just asking me a lot of questions, and you brought some ideas to me. Ready, fire, aim was a pretty cool idea that you shared with me. And it was one of those things that, maybe you can explain a little bit more, because I heard it the first time and I'm like, oh no, I think you meant ready, aim, fire. And you're like, no, I meant ready, fire, aim. And as I'm now a year later, that's really kind of what the show has done. And it's been a lot of fun. So share with everybody, what's ready, fire, aim. And then what have we kind of done over the last year to represent that?
Yeah, man. Ready, Fire, Aim is the title of a book that I read about a business philosophy where essentially, I think it's been more popularized since, right? Fail forward, all these terms are kind of the same thing. But the philosophy of Ready, Fire, Aim is the idea that, people spend too much time arbitrarily deciding on what is right, when really what you want is feedback from your clientele to tell you how to serve them. So when we decided that we were going to create this content stream where, the goal was educate, be available, right? Talk to the audience as much as possible, alleviate their fears, explain whatever they got to know. We were only going to get so far in figuring out the way that JWB is seen by the clientele. So we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about, what are the things that makes people want to do business with JWB, invest in real estate, whatever. I had the good fortune of having been a client, right? So and not just that, but to be the type of client that had no idea what he was doing and hurt myself by not continuing being a client because I wasn't really engaged and I didn't really understand it, right? So we came up with these 4 pillars, right? At the end of the day, we know that a client, and I've learned this terminology very recently, but people ask themselves 3 questions. Does it interest me? Can I trust you? And is it for me? Right. And we set off to kind of answer those questions. And we had this idea that there was 4 pillars to it. The first pillar was people need to be educated on real estate. They need to understand what this is as an asset class versus other real estate investments. They need to understand all of that. We also intuitively, and I remember getting a little bit of pushback from you on this one, right? But I had this theory that you needed to buy into Jacksonville to a certain extent, because my conversations at home in Miami about this people that I had invested with were Jacksonville. Yeah, why would I invest in Jacksonville? I'm from Miami, right? So we had to promote that idea. Then it was the idea that we want to showcase the leadership team, right? Like the moment that I walked into a TMM and I saw your corporate culture, I was like, we need to talk about the business story and the leadership here. And then the fourth one was we intuitively knew that we had extraordinary clientele that have their own story, that can provide their own value to the rest of the community. And we had to figure out a way to make it easy for them to feel comfortable in sharing their story to everybody else, because it would be this aggregate effect. Am I getting it right there?
Oh yeah, man. I remember every part along that journey, we were sort of figuring it out, right? And we came out and we tried a few things, and those sort of worked, and some of them were really clunky. And we would look, I remember we would talk after every single show. We're like, what did you like about that? What didn't you like? And then the show would change completely the next week, like the format, whether it was Zoom or something else we were using. I mean, those were the wild, wild West days. But you're right, man. It was a commitment to those pillars of content, and then figuring out really from feedback from everybody on the show. I mean, you guys gotta understand that we listen so much to what your comments are, and are you showing up? Are you not showing up? Right? We track all of these things, and it tells us the story of if we're on more of the right track. And I remember in the beginning, we probably had maybe I don't know, maybe 10 people that were kind of with us in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And a lot of those people are still with us today. So thank you all. Lee, Everett, Marilyn, and there's a few others that I'm sure we'll talk to here, right? And then we started to see kind of once we got maybe into Q1, maybe towards the end of Q1, just as soon as coronavirus started to hit, then those numbers of viewership started to really rise into the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and it was consistent. And we were like, oh, all right, that's the feedback loop from Ready, Fire, Aim that we were searching for. And from there, it's just been, I think it's been really minor tweaks probably for the last quarter, I would say. But yeah, man, it's been a fun journey.
It has been. So let's talk about it kind of in quarters, right? In Q1, what our first fire was this live show that we were producing in-house, and then we would format it and broadcast it into our Facebook group that we were trying to grow when it was a secret back then. And we had all these really interesting, we went real hard at, we had a little bit of trepidation in bringing on just clients because we didn't want them to feel like we just want a testimonial from you, right? So we wanted to lead the way with the team, with the Jacksonville pillars, somewhat educational as well. And one of the early signs that I knew we were doing well was I knew from personal anecdotes that Everett Shapiro had become a fan, right? Like he was the first guy that registered on our screen. Him and Melissa are here today. I'd love to bring him on and kind of see what started resonating with him. You ready? Let's see if this works.
I wonder if you're going to be able to pull this off. So my team was asking me before if we're going to be able to pull off this live on camera, bring people onto the screen. So let's see. I don't know, Pablo. Well, you are the AV king.
We got him on. Let me see if I can ask to unmute right here and see if maybe you can start video as well. Do we have it?
Okay.
Here we are.
There he is. All right.
You got all of us.
Welcome, Melissa and Everett, to the show. Longtime friends of ours, I affectionately known as Pop-Up and Pop-Pop in his inner circles as well. At what point did you start enjoying this thing, Everett?
Well, as you know, Rich and Whitney are very involved, and we would talk about it, and I would listen, and I would kind of tune in. And the key was it was educational. It was not an over-the-top infomercial with a hard sales thing. I mean, it's real laid back. I got 25 years in law enforcement, and I'm a cynical kind of guy. It's one of these too good to be true stories. But I listened to the questions you'd ask and Gregg's answers and the transparency, the admission of mistakes that have been made, how they try to protect the client when they're starting a new venture. They test it themselves before they lay it out there. I mean, you guys sold me, and we took a leap, and we probably have more of our portfolio in JWB than many financial advisors, probably most financial advisors would advise. But I tell you, we are sold. We think it's great. As you know, private lending is our niche. I mean, we love it from the aspect it's a good return, minimal risk, and nobody's asking for money down the road for anything. So, we love you guys. You've treated us right. The customer service is up there. And then I don't say this about very many companies. Okay, I got to lay that out there. So we appreciate what you've done for us, and we enjoy watching you guys.
Well, this is incredible.
Yeah, I would just say we enjoy the banter. We've enjoyed the guests, listening to all the different anecdotes and scenarios. Everybody's has a different story, a different goal, and a different way to get there. And so that's interesting. And I really think you stress the education side, which we appreciate, because there's dozens of companies out there that probably charge money for the type of education that you dole out every week for free. So we just think that's awesome, and we appreciate it.
Well, we love you guys so much. Thank you guys for putting your trust in us for so many years. And thank you guys for braving the technology to be here today as well. I mean, this is just incredible. I mean, I can't tell you what this means, not just to have you guys and your family so much, invested with JWB, but to have you guys here on the show, to be the early supporters for us when, quite frankly, we didn't know what this was going to become. For us, our clients go so far beyond just being clients, right? Just being good people. They support us in ventures that sometimes we don't know exactly, if it might be a new marketing thing. It might be, we call up clients and say, hey, will you come on over here and show up at this thing because we're doing this networking thing, right? And, clients always take time out of their schedule to do that. So thank you guys for making this show a success. I would love to know, what are some of the things that you feel like we could be doing either a little bit better, or maybe some of the ideas that you guys would love to see going forward?
I love your business plan with the rentals, the sales, the private lending. I got to admit, I get a little nervous with the downtown stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of money going down there, but I trust you guys that you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's fair, right? I think there's a reason why those are JWB investments that we're making, and those aren't investments that we're bringing to you guys yet, because those are a little bit untested and they are a little bit more risky than what we would sell to clients. So yeah, you know what? It is not water that we have treaded before, but at one point, JWB turnkey rentals wasn't water that we had treaded before, right? Or townhomes or new construction and some of those things. So part of the reason that we are able to stay here so local here in Jacksonville is because we have to be innovative. So I hear what you're saying, and I can tell you that we are watching it like a hawk.
I mean,
we're going to make
at the same time, I really, really love it. I love seeing the Arlington sign when I go by that exit. I'm like, those are our guys. Yay.
I do the same thing too.
Yeah. And hearing about the Sweet Pete building, we've followed that company since they were on The Profit. And the fact that now it's sort of one of the family, we love that. Hearing about the container apartments, all that stuff is super exciting and very bold. And I know you mentioned that you have young children and you want to make Jacksonville a cool place so that when they're grown, they want to live here. I think all of that's really awesome. So I guess the only other thing I would share, just reminiscing this morning back in about, 2006, 2007, when Whitney and Rich were first getting together.
Yeah.
And Rich was a mortgage broker during the down times when, everybody was losing houses, not buying houses, right? And I said to my son-in-law, or future, I'm not sure if they were married yet. I said, you know what, Rich, if you can make it through this time, you can make it through anything. You will be golden, because who wanted to be a mortgage broker in those days? And he said, you know what, I'm working with these 3 guys, these UF grads, and they've got this idea and they're buying houses up. And so that was the first little whisperings we heard of you guys, and look at what you've accomplished since then. It's really awesome.
Wow. Just think about what we've all accomplished. Whitney and her company, the Ritchie Insurance Group, Rich, and what he's accomplishing over at, I guess it's Truist now, right?
Correct.
Trust, right? Both have been guests on the show as well. Both incredibly big parts of our business. So it's been an incredible ride, and we're very, very much appreciative of you guys.
All right, we'll let you go talk to the others.
Appreciate it.
Good
Thanks.
talking to you all.
Thanks for coming on. See y'all soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's see how this one works. Back to attendee. All right, I think that was a pretty good first go, Greg.
Wow.
The nerves are down.
Super impressed with you, Pablo. Way to go, brother.
All right, now we got the hands being raised. Now we got the buy-in from the crowd. So first quarter, we have these live shows. We go into the Facebook group. Second quarter, I think we call that the COVID quarter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
The world changed in the blink of an eye.
World changes, blink of an eye. We realize that we got to change this to a Zoom format. We're like, for now, let's change to Zoom. Little did we know, what this would all enable. And really, two things ring out to me. Number one is I'm glad that forced us to change to Zoom, because I think early on I was telling you production quality is not the thing. It's the story. It's the people that we're doing out there. And it really opened up our ability to have more and different guests on. And two, as uncomfortable as it was, in times of turmoil, you need the ship's captain out in front. And you really took that mantle. You really stood out there in front of everybody, said what you believed was happening. And I really, really was very impressed at that moment, Gregg. Like I knew at that point that this thing would be a success because of you.
Wow, buddy. Well, thank you. I mean, I can tell you that it wasn't natural for me. None of this going on Facebook and social and doing a show has ever been natural for me. You've made it almost natural for me, right? You've made it something that's really fun. But when we go back to that time of the COVID time, when the whole world really didn't know what was going on, I always just felt like there is no substitute for spending time with people, right? And whether that's with your kids, your wife, your family, whoever it is, there's no substitute for time spent. And then when it came to a financial crisis, like many people were fearing, it's kind of the same thing with clients, right? And a lot of times on those shows, we got on here, I was asked questions that I didn't know the answer to. And that was my response a lot of times because I didn't know. But there were a few things that I felt really confident about that were counterintuitive to many. And I'm so thankful that we had built up this platform and this small following that made it very easy for us to transition and just change the show topic rather than create a brand new format to be able to spend that time that I think is so necessary.
Yep. That's when we really first started aiming, right? Like we really started taking the aim piece of the ready, fire, and aim. It's also when we started really, seeing like a bit of a following. Our first, I'm bringing on Marilyn on right now because Marilyn was the first person I think that got her own like ongoing inside joke storyline into the show because she is from Homosassa, Florida.
Home of the manatees.
Home of the manatees. So Marilyn, if you want to unmute, we'd love to hear kind of what hooked you in and what have you learned so far? Like what's your biggest takeaway so far?
Well, I'll tell you, I really don't know how I got lured into it. I think I must have gotten an email from maybe Mike Stetson. You guys must have sent out an email from to the whole database, maybe, I don't know, and telling me about it. So literally at the start of the COVID thing is when I started getting lured into it and had nothing else to do. So there you go. But I soon came to realize that you knew what you were talking about. That yes, I knew that y'all were kind of starting out with this whole Zoom thing, but and I knew that you needed some support, but I needed support as well. I needed to know that you guys were, the JWB in particular was honest, was consistent. And that's what I've seen this whole time: honesty, consistency. I am a former quality assurance and training manager. So I'm very detail oriented and very, I need to know the details. I need to know the consistency. And I saw that in Gregg every session. Even when he was asked difficult questions, he was very honest about all the answers and dug right into things. So I love it. And I'm actually a passive investor with the private lending side of it at this point.
Marilyn, I can tell you, and thank you so much for saying those things. And the value that we tried to create for those, especially in the beginning, Pablo and I were always like, well, let's create as much value as we can with the show and whatnot, because we feel like the people who are actually showing up in the beginning are giving us way more value than we could ever give them. You were one of the first original, probably 5 or 10 that I just remember. We're here every week. And, to know that at a time, really, COVID, there was a lot of time at home, right? A lot of time on Zoom calls and whatnot. There were a lot of things that might have distracted you for you to take an hour out of your day on Tuesday. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, as we started to ramp up on the Tuesday and Thursday show, I mean, that just, for me as an entrepreneur a few times now, with one time with JWB, I felt like I've been able to be an entrepreneur a couple of times. And this has been a new entrepreneurial venture. So every time that somebody would spend that hour, 2 hours a week with me, I was like, man, that is really cool. So thank you so much. I don't know if you knew exactly how much that means to Pablo and to me.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I knew about y'all early on, I'm actually a client of Equity Trust Company, which is self-directed investing. And you guys were at one of their events probably in 07 or 08. And I think I met Adam, who of course was harassing me because I'm a Seminole and he's a Gator. And so that actually stuck with me. So I remember you guys from way back then when you were Jacksonville Wealth Builders.
That's right.
And I'm like, I don't know about these guys. But then when I saw y'all again years later, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this mountain they have built, this huge, massive company. And so, I mean, I've been lured in and been watching you guys every week. And I, sooner or later, like Pablo, I will get myself a house. I'm just not there yet. Kind of waiting on a few things, but I'll get there.
Well, that's great. When the time's right, we'll be here. So have you ever come up to see us here in Jacksonville, Maryland?
Well, no, I haven't. That was one of my hesitations when I was talking with Mike Stetson. It's like, I'm really one of those people that likes to see things. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that's holding me back. I know. So maybe once COVID's over, I'll do it, or maybe I won't, because now I'm hearing from everybody under the sun, like Jen and so forth, that it doesn't matter where you live. You don't have to see it. Yeah. And I know I've been investing for years, but I've always been able to see whatever I've invested in. So it's a hurdle I haven't been able to get over yet because of COVID.
Makes a lot of sense. But, you did decide to do private lending. So don't sell yourself short. You were able to invest in private lending. I guess that's a good question to ask. I mean, what gave you the confidence, knowing that you hadn't been to Jacksonville yet, to go ahead and put some of your hard-earned money with us, when we haven't actually met? This is the first time I've actually been able to meet you face to face. So what gave you the confidence to do that?
Probably the consistency of the show, week in and week out, 2 times a week. And I'm actually a caregiver for my mother right now. And so I'm constantly interrupted, and she may walk out on us in the middle of this. So I don't know, but I moved to Florida, so I'm kind of restricted on being able to just go and do whatever I want anymore. So my life's completely changed. And so I'm a little hesitant to just jump in and not really know what's happening 2 years from now. None of us know. And COVID's obviously told us that, but I also know that the consistency that you guys have built and all the guests that you bring on, and I can tell that those guests are not reading what you want them to read, and they're not upselling me and all the other things that I've bought for years. You guys have not upsold anything. And as a matter of fact, I think one of the things that I would emphasize is that maybe you talk a little bit more about the private lending side of things, because I think or maybe let it open up at a smaller dollar amount for some people. I think you could get a lot more opportunity with some people getting their foot in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certain restrictions when it comes to private lending that don't allow us to do that, which at the end of the day is why we don't focus on it more. You have to have a pre-existing relationship and some other things to be able to do private lending. But, from an education perspective, we can talk about how much private lending can be a part of anybody's portfolio. Many people don't know about it, and it's a great thing. So, and we'll always be trying to figure out ways where we can talk a little bit more about it within the rules. We have a couple of ideas that are coming out in the future. So stay tuned a little bit. We might be able to discuss it a little bit more. But I did want to mention how cool it is. Thank you for sharing your story about being a caregiver for your mother too. This type of a why is incredible, and whether that's within private lending or within owning turnkey rental properties, knowing that we have a part in kind of creating that stable income stream for you to be able to take care of your mother means a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you for the trust.
Thank you.
Thanks for showing up, Marilyn. Listen, Marilyn, I want to thank you for wearing a Homosassa sweater, t-shirt. Like, I was like,
I did have a manatee.
I know. I was like, I know she's got to show up with something Homosassa or something of a manatee, and you fully delivered. So thank you so much, Marilyn, for real. Like what Gregg said of, the early support really was this like anecdotal barometer of like, this stuff is really good, when we were just in our heads, really self-conscious about whether or not it made any sense. So thanks a million, Marilyn. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see what I can do here. All right. Change role to attendee. That worked again. Greg.
You are on fire, brother.
So far, so good, man. So listen, Q2, we had the COVID quarter. It was because we went into Zoom calls. We also, it was the first time we started bringing on authors, right? So a little bit started educating a little bit outside of the lines of just real estate, which I found pretty interesting. We also brought on, right at the end of Q2, we brought on a buddy of mine that wasn't a client, just had an inspirational story, Doug Orr, right? So like we started getting experimental, and I bring that up because one of our friends that's like my friend that's friends with Doug, that you've also never met, Jake Hargrove, at that point, he starts becoming part of the family, part of the community with his signature call sign.
Yo.
So gonna bring him on to see what Jake has to say. Jake, if you can unmute and turn your camera on, we're gonna have you on here if you're available, buddy.
I have no idea what to expect for Jake, by the way. I've never met Jake before. I just know him as the guy who screams, yo.
Yeah, Jake, we hear you, man.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to turn the camera on.
All right.
It's saying I have a privacy thing because I'm doing it on the iPad.
All right. This is to be expected. So Jake, what got you? So I imagine that it was, we're like three-way chatting, you, me, and Doug. Doug's coming on the show. You start showing up. What kept you around, man?
Let's see here. Zoom.
Jake, we're gonna continue talking here, just because if our friend is listening in the podcast in the near future, it's gonna be real quiet and lonely for them. Greg.
Yes, sir.
So as we are going through, we have the COVID quarter. We start having authors on. Jake, whenever you turn on your video, let us know, or whenever you want to jump in with audio. We
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
There he is.
Can you see me?
What's going on, Jake? Nice to put a face to the name.
Hey, Greg. All right. So I think I cut out there, but you were asking basically what got me into the show and why I stayed. And so basically, I'm a founding member of Pablo's Scooter Gang. I don't know if y'all have heard the story, but that's for another time with Doug, who y'all had on the show, who's an amazing real estate investor. And I really just came on because I wanted to support Doug, and I wanted to support Pablo. I'm good for at least a like here and there, or tune into the show. I've always been interested in real estate investing. I know that it's going to be a part of my portfolio when it comes to passive investing and getting that cash flow. I've started another business. That's where I've got my first down payment on my first house is in that business. So whenever I can get that back, that's when I'll come join JWB. Because I'm already sold on it. And basically I kept coming back because for one, the transparency that you have, Greg, is unmatched. I've never seen it. The fact that we're able to connect with you and basically the company directly, and get that one-on-one feedback is incredible. You answer every single question, doesn't matter who asked it or what the question is. And if you don't know the answer, you're willing to say that you don't, and that you can, and you will find the answer. You get it back. And that's what's, I'm able to work from home because of COVID, and that's how I'm able to join the show every single time. But I've called almost every show since I've started coming. So once we go back to the office, I don't know if I'll be able to, but I certainly I rewatched some of them with y'all. What kept me coming back was the property of the week. So you break it down, the spreadsheet. I'm a business analyst, so I'm a huge spreadsheet guy. And I love the way the formulas and the cells work all together, and and I can see that it all makes sense and the numbers work. And I love it every single time y'all break down each property and how it's profitable and how it cash flows. And that's the thing, is y'all do it like every single week, which I think you need, because just one or two times here and there doesn't necessarily reel somebody in. It's when you repeatedly say the same thing over and over again and drill it into them that really makes it click for some people. Me, I knew the numbers worked, and so it was a fit, like, because for one, Pablo likes you, and then Gregg, you sold me, and the company as a whole sold me. And I will make it down to probably in the springtime. I'm going to come down to Jacksonville to hang out with Pablo. I think Doug said he wants to come with me. And I definitely want to hop on that spike ball court and the volleyball court with you guys. I just ran my marathon. I know y'all are runners, but I just did it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you look thinner, man. You're looking good. Buddy.
Yeah, I'm about 15 or 20 pounds down, so try not to put it back on. But yeah, so I know y'all run every morning or every Tuesday and Thursday before the show. So I might have to hop on one of those runs with y'all, but I definitely haven't run the last 3 weeks ever since, because that was a one and done kind of thing. That took it out of me, that marathon. But all I gotta say is I don't want to take up too much time, and y'all have an awesome show. Is there any other questions you want from me?
Jake, I'd like to know what you've learned. What, like, the big thing that you've learned by watching that you didn't know about real estate or rental properties? Is there any like major takeaway that kind of like changed your mindset in any way?
Well, okay. So there was. Here's a good one. So I wasn't aware of all. Is it 5 profit centers?
That's right.
Gregg. Yeah. So I was aware of like there's like the first 3, the cash flow, the appreciation, and the tax savings. But what are the other 2? Those are the other 2 that were like.
So then there's principal pay down, which is the resident paying down your loan for you, which is a huge return for you. And then there's inflation hedging, which is a couple different things, right? You've got the value of other goods and services going up over time, which largely correlates to rises in rent prices and property appreciation. And then if you use financing, inflation hedging really helps because it devalues the dollars that you pay down your debt with in future years. So it gets easier to pay the debt down the longer you keep the debt in place.
See, there you go. You got an answer. Quick and easy.
Every morning when I wake up in the morning, I kiss my wife good morning, and then I say, okay, what are those 5 profit centers?
I need to start doing that, except I don't have the wife, so I just say it to myself in the camera. But yeah, those were like the big ones, the eye openers for me, because like I said, I knew the obvious ones, but like when you were able to explain and actually break down how those other profit centers add to the bottom line as well, because you don't just see it necessarily from a bird's eye view, but if you break it down, over time it definitely adds to it. I'm from Memphis, so like that's a huge real estate market as well. But the fact that you were able to prove to me that Jacksonville is actually somewhat of a better market long term for real estate investing as well. And before I go, I have to say that those Steelers let me down. At the beginning of the show, I heard you say something about the Steelers. I don't know if you're referring to what I was saying earlier, or a couple days ago, but they let me down big time. I'm a Packers fan, but I needed Juju to come through for me last night. And, man,
don't bet on the Steelers offense right now, man.
Yep, I made that mistake last night, but
don't worry, I'll be here all season. I will either take the brunt of the jokes or whatnot, or I will be gloating at the end of the year. I will be here, but it has not been fun to be a Steelers fan the last few weeks.
You guys keep it up. Keep doing. You're doing awesome. I wouldn't change a thing. And like I said, and I'll hopefully in the spring or soon I'll be down there to see you in person and whoop up on that volleyball court.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait to see those spike ball skills. We got a marathon runner. You're setting a high standard for yourself when we get
I have a high standard for myself, yes. So I'm looking forward to it.
High standard guy.
Thanks for all the support, brother.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Jake. Jake and his high standards. So he brought up something. Quarter 3 was the property of the week.
Week. I don't know if people know about the story of the property of the week.
Go for it.
Well, so Pablo on one of our runs was like, hey, man, I really think that we should showcase a property. And I'm like, nah, I don't think that's a good idea. Because I'm like, we're trying to give education, and then that might get a little bit too like into the details and whatnot. And so then a couple of weeks go by, and I'm just like listening to questions from people on the show. And it's like, hey, how do I really find out what those tax savings are? Or how do I find out like what my property insurance should be? And I'm just like, damn, Pablo's right. Pablo's right. Pablo's right. So like, a couple of weeks later, I'm like, hey, Pablo, remember that idea that you had? Like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I think you were right. And so instantly we brought up we created the property of the week for our Thursday call. It became our standing routine, this consistency that, Jake was just speaking of. And since then it has been, probably the thing that people, I would say, love the most about the show, right? I mean, people love the Tuesday for more of kind of our clients' stories, or maybe some other folks in our network and that story approach. But that balance isn't there without the property of the week and that actual detail oriented. How do I take action on actually deciding on what a rental property is? So appreciate you, brother. It was an awesome idea. I'm sorry I slow played us for a little while there.
Man, sometimes you got to wait for something to be really, really good. So we, obviously that took off, that went great. And I think by the time we got into fourth quarter, I call that the community quarter. That's when we really started feeling, thank you, Jake, man. That was awesome. That's when we really started to feel this community concept, right? And I would love to, kind of get you to tell me a little bit about that. We started really highlighting clients and really just putting them on the stage to showcase the level of people that trust JWB with their money and what else they do. And to me, that's when the plan fully came to completion. We're going to finish up here with 4 of those. But I just kind of want you to reflect a little bit on when that started.
This was another aha moment. A lot of people have actually reached out to me and said, hey, the show is going really well. How have you done all of this? And what I realized that I did not know early on was that the show really is a platform. And it's not about the education that I get to bring or that me and Pablo get to basically showcase, as much as it is a platform, right? That education will come through. But what people really love to see is how other people have experienced this investment or whatever it may be, and then they were successful from it in their own words and get to share their story. And that took a lot for me to learn, because if I go back a year ago, it was me running around with a Facebook Live like camera in front of my face, like trying to teach about property taxes or whatever. And now, as you look at what our show has become, I was speaking with another company here locally that I thought this would be a great format for. And I said, if I started a show and it was all about me teaching about property management, that would be the least attended show in the history of shows, right? Like, property management is not a sexy topic that people are going to tune into, right? But we are a turnkey investment company and property management company. And the show is really a platform to hear stories like Bill Shields, who we're going to hear from in a second, or Jen and Renee, who I'm sure we're going to hear from in a second. And that has really kind of connected the dots for me, and I think made this show even more fun for others as well.
And you mentioned it right now. We got Bill. This is the first time I get to see Bill Shields, handsome fella. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Thanks for having me. How you guys doing?
Good to see you, Bill.
Bill, like you were, another member of the community that started showing up more and more and contributing more and more. Would love to kind of hear from you on what brought you in, what have you learned, what keeps you here?
Well, I've got kind of a different perspective, I guess. I've been working with JWB for 5 years, and it's been interesting to watch them grow and see what's happening. And I've been interested in real estate for at least a few of those years and not sure how to get started. So mainly I guess I started watching the show 6-7 months ago, or maybe longer, I can't remember. And Gregg mentioned something about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I was like, I've heard of that book. It's like, I need to look at that. I don't think I've ever read that. So I read that, and that kind of launched me into, moving forward and into doing this. I'm not there yet. We actually bought a property in High Springs, so it's gonna be a second home / VRBO, which should be a fun experience, I'm sure. But we're just gonna do that to help pay for the mortgage, because we found something there, and My wife loved it. We loved the area, and we're like, oh, okay, we'll do this first, but we're definitely moving towards getting into our first rental property next year. So we're excited about that. And
Well, that's
I don't know,
incredible.
I just appreciate, getting to know you guys a little, Greg, and then Alex. I've got to know him a little bit, and Katie, and Jess was the one that found me back in 2015, and then I was working with her for a while, and then Lisandro, which he's not around anymore, but he was a cool guy, and then so it's been cool just to watch you guys evolve and grow. It's been a neat
Actually, I think it'd
watch.
be cool to kind of share that story. I didn't know when we all started working together, but Bill is a draftsman and works a lot on the plans for our new construction properties. So I guess what could you kind of share about working with JWB from the external teammate side that people may not know, sort of in this format?
I would just say that everything has been pretty efficient and very professional overall from the beginning. I mean, you guys have been tremendously easy to work with, and Alex is really creative, so I've learned a ton from him. I'm sure we could both say the same thing about each other. We kind of, I think, have different personalities, so it's funny to go back and forth with him. But it's and Katie, watching her grow and keep Alex under control is a task on its own. I'm impressed with what Katie's able to do to keep things organized and
absolutely
and still working with Jess. I mean, it's been nothing but professional. There's never been any issues, and we try to give you guys a pretty quick and efficient service, and you guys have been there all along. So I appreciate your business and appreciate working with you.
Yeah, well, it's been incredible growth on the new construction side and the number of builds that we've been able to accomplish together through your efforts, through the team's efforts together. I mean, I don't know how many we were building in 2015, but it wasn't anywhere near what we're going to build in 2021. We're going to be up to 450 completed builds in 2021. So thank you so much for everything you've done there, and excited about the first property. It sounds like the second home is the first kind of venture for you into this investment space. That's huge. I'm excited that you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and you're getting, you're kind of getting the mind right around this type of investment, which I find it takes a lot of time to do that, right? You got to change the way you think a little bit. I certainly did in the beginning. So when the time is right for the rental property here in Jacksonville, we'll be ready for you, Bill.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. I appreciate y'all's info every week. Just I mean, it's been a wealth of information. And the property, first time I heard you guys do the intro to the property of the week, I think I fell out of my chair. It was awesome. So if nothing else, I tune in for that every week. It's like
Greg, how
I
did
think
that
we
start,
attract people
man?
to the show who don't take themselves too seriously. I don't know, man. How did we do that?
I don't know. I think we just kind of intuitively did it, and you went into the echo. That was great.
It's classic. And I really feel bad for your Steelers there, Greg. We just lost our 13th in a row. So, but
That's
we're
true.
tanking for Trevor, baby. That's all I got to say.
That was the best.
It was a quarterback.
The best thing that they called the Jets win this past week the worst win in history. So.
Oh man, I was. Monday was an awesome day. Even Sunday afternoon, I was just like, "Holy cow! What just happened? We're in the driver's seat. Come on, let's go, baby."
The Jags could have a sharp rebound, and we won't spend too much time talking about football.
Yeah, but sorry, I just had to bring that up.
I love it.
Jags could be good here in a year or two. I'm just going to say that here first.
All right,
Yeah.
Bill, thanks for coming on. Bill, I got to come clean. Bill and I at one point started texting. I told him I was going to meet him at Sunrise for a surf session. And that day I ate something that didn't sit with me. And I left you there on a bad day of surf. You got up and you went, man.
It was awful.
It was awful. I saw it, man. I owe you a session, buddy. I promise you next time. I promise I'll show up, man. We'll get one in.
Cool. We need to get Greg out there too. I heard he likes to surf a little
Invite
bit.
me.
Tell
It
me
was
about
on
it.
my goals this year, Bill. I needed to surf 12 times by the end of 2020, and I'm at 9. I went surfing on
Well,
Sunday.
you waited to the wrong time of the year to
I
finish
know,
it
man.
up.
I was out there in a wetsuit. It was cold, man. But I got to get 3 more sessions in, so maybe we'll do that.
There you go.
All right, Bill. Thank you very much, man.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you, guys.
So from Bill, let's go to a newer member of our community who is also a surfer, a pro surfer, might I add. But we're going to bring on Sean Pointer, who, is recently, he's a guy that's been building out his own real estate company. we became friendly via Spike Ball, and at some point he showed up on our show. And I remember, Greg, you and I talking about, like, isn't it crazy that our friends are actually showing up to see this thing?
Yeah, I know. It's like all these levels of like coolness for us as like these little milestones that relate nothing to like actual like sales. We're just like, man, this is cool, And so, yeah. And Sean showing up and a few of our other buddies from the Spike Ball crew actually showing up. We're like, man, this is really awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. Sean, can you hear us, man? Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you great, man. So thanks for being part of the show, man. What got you kind of tuning in?
Well, it definitely happened at Spike Ball. 100%. I'm sorry you can't see my video. I had a feeling it may happen like this. I'm trying to now get it working on my cell phone.
That's all right, man.
But the intro, I think you guys is explaining it at Spike Ball, of course. A little bit about me, as you were saying. I am an active wholesaler here in Jacksonville. I'm full-time doing it. So I kind of come at it with the perspective of these shows as a real learning experience for me. I'm not a client consumer of JWB, but I'm a massive admirer of what you guys are doing, Greg and the company. I work with sometimes the team on the back end of things to try and sell you guys property and communicate with your property management on some properties you guys have. So it's a real education for me as I listen in, and I'm kind of just being, it's really quite aspirational for someone who's looking to get into a passive investor space, or just like an active investor, because that's kind of the goal, right? And you guys are leading the charge on that. And so it's really, really insightful to get all the education from it and see the properties of the week and hear from your existing clients talk about their deals that they have going on. And you guys are drawing back the curtain on a really wonderful company here. And it's just, it's really wonderful to tune in and hear that from guys like myself who are aspiring to do that. So it's definitely it's received really well, and super appreciative on this side.
Hey, buddy, thank you for all those kind words, man. I got to tell you, I mean, many people don't understand fully why we say that we're going to stay here in Jacksonville from a company perspective, like why we are focused on staying in Jacksonville. And our relationship with Sean and our other wholesalers or other real estate professionals that provide properties to us that then turn into turnkey assets. Oh, there you are, buddy. Looking good as always, man.
Cool, man. All right, great. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we still got
okay.
You. These types of relationships are incredibly valuable to our end clients, right? We're able to buy 500, 600, 700 properties a year because of these types of relationships. And we feel like if we were to go to other markets out there, we can't just build up relationships with people like Sean or some of our other real estate professionals to be able to source inventory, right? I mean, you just can't do those things. And then you think about this type of relationship, like the one we have with Bill, who was just on the call here, right? That type of relationship. You think about our contractor networks, our title companies, right? Insurance, right? These types of networks all lead to the benefit of clients at the end of the day, but they would never know you, Sean, right? They would never know that you're an integral part of everything we do here at JWB. So I'm super stoked just from a friend perspective that you're spending some time and supporting with us. And even more than that, it's great that you look at this as a value add for your business. Because if you can understand more about what we're selling at the end of the day, then you can back into it and say, okay, well, this is what I need to provide to JWB. And then they're going to be able to buy 100 of these next year,
Yeah, completely. No, I mean, you guys are really wonderful. Anytime I have a property that may fit the parameters, what you may like, you guys are first guys I hit, right? Because you guys are straightforward. You know what works, you know what doesn't. So I know that there's going to be a quick response from your team if it's a go or not. And then we can move forward or not with somebody else. It's like, it makes it so easy on our side, which is really cool. But I do want to say also how just I loved your guys' collaboration, you and Pablo, as a newer individual into real estate investing and working this space, having Pablo who's educating himself through this environment. It's like it's like me sitting in there, and it really helps to bring in the information, because if he's really questioning it, like, okay, do I understand that? Okay. And then, okay, the audience should understand it because I understand it. So it's like, you listen to some podcasts. I listen to podcasts. I don't necessarily always catch it live. So I listen back on the podcast later. And it's just, it makes it really easy for a guy like me to take it in, because if you have Pablo there who really wants to understand it, and it helps out you, the viewer, listener, to educate yourself on that. So you guys have a really wonderful collaboration there.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. I agree. I mean, Pablo's the yin to my yang.
The pause to your mittens, if I might say.
There we go.
Yeah, and I love all the nicknames as well. I was trying to think. I was like, I wonder what Gregg's favorite nickname is that Pablo's hit him with, because gosh, it seems every day is a new one, right?
He prepares for it. I'm gonna go with.
I haven't had to repeat it, man.
He's incredibly prepared. I'm gonna go with generate cash flow. That one stuck out to me, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll take that one. I'll get a tattoo.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you guys so much.
Dude, thank you, Sean. Really appreciate
buddy.
you coming on, man. This is awesome. All right,
Thank you,
let's
man.
finish
See you,
up.
buddy.
Gregg, oh, there he is. All right, see you later, man. Gregg, I know we said we're gonna try to get out of here at 1:30. I want to bring on two stalwarts of the show. Let's bring on, without further ado, a guest that really changed my mindset, right? Like this was, I'm glad we brought up Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because that I think that's a quintessential thing, that a theme throughout the show, that everybody that has invested is a value add thing to do. Everybody put me into it, but then talking to Jen and Renee was another quintessential moment for me to move ahead of my investment. So welcome, Jen and Renee.
Hey guys.
So good to see you guys.
You both.
Good to see you too. So first of all, Jen, congratulations on the release of your book yesterday. I got myself a copy. I suggest anybody here gets the Give to Get principal book, right?
Yes.
And
still available for free.
Yeah.
Today, yes, and Gregg, make sure that all of JWB gets a free downloaded copy. This
Awesome.
is not a sales pitch. If you guys remember when my last book came out, I actually hand delivered like 14 printed copies of my book, because I want what I teach to like help the culture. So get it, darling, get it.
Absolutely, you got it. Those books were read in my office. I read your book. I'm gonna read the next one for sure.
Yay! Hey, Marilyn. But no, this is awesome. You guys,
So,
we're so proud of you. We're so proud of what you guys have
Definitely.
built. And it's a party. It's like a party twice a week. It's awesome.
Nice.
so
You
when
guys-
did you start tuning in, Jen and Renee?
I don't know.
Or like, do you remember kind of?
I suppose probably once we were aware of the show itself, and we were invited to be on, and then we realized, oh, there's this show called Not Your Average Investor.
Summertime?
Was that?
Yeah.
It's about summertime?
Probably. Wow, that seems so long ago.
I know.
But it really
This year.
wasn't that far.
This year has been like, yeah.
Well, you guys are incredibly busy entrepreneurs. You've got your own business, and let's face it, a lot about JWB already. You've been clients for like 9 years. Your family is, our clients as well. So to know that you guys still are a part of this we're just so thankful. I don't know if it's more for the support for JWB and for Pablo, or if it's more of the value that you get. And quite frankly, I don't really care, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you guys.
I think there's a lot of value, obviously, when we get to meet you, because first and foremost, when you get to meet someone in person, then you know them just beyond the screen. Not that you can't, make friends and get to know people from Zoom, because that's the standard now. But, when we first went out there, what was it, 8 years ago? Or
Yeah.
We got our first property. You walked us through the process, and it was so good that, Jen got her parents to do the same thing.
That
as
was
well.
the best story. Both
Yeah, it was.
we bought and my parents bought on the same day.
It
That
was awesome.
hilarious.
Yeah. And getting to tour, I don't know if that's possible now, JWB, the old facility and the new facility, that was great.
The
And then-
lunches, love the lunches.
Yeah. And we can really get a firsthand appreciation for the culture that JWB has. And I think that's important. That comes through in a lot of what you're doing, because no matter if you are trying to figure this all out, you know, we still see and feel how genuine you are and what you want to do. And that still comes through regardless, I think. And we just got to hang out with Pablo and his wife, Martha, a couple of weeks ago. And that
I
was
heard
awesome.
about that. I found out a little bit late. I think you guys went out for dinner together and I couldn't be there. I'm so sorry, but
That's okay.
man, I heard you guys had a blast.
We'll be back in April. And I am looking for, and someone in the chat, you know, Pablo was saying, oh, not your average investor conference. Yes, yes, and yes. I can't wait to see Marilyn in person, Lee in person, Jake in person, all these folks. Guys, this is just such a great community. That's the thing. It's so authentic and it's so real. And what's lovely about JWB is you guys have always been outwardly focused your entire time you've been in existence. You've done the Habitat for Humanity. You've done things for veterans. You've always just given. I loved getting my little printed newsletters every month, you know, seeing the happy faces, what you guys have been doing. The evolution of JWB has been so amazing. And this is just the cherry on top. It's perfect.
Well, thank you so much. And I don't know if you still get the printed newsletters, but if you want those, we still do print those. So if anybody would like a printed newsletter that we write, all you have to do is request it. We'll make sure that we get those printed newsletters out to you every single month.
Requested, yeah.
Pretty please. Yes.
All right, cool.
They're fun. They're fun.
Yeah.
It's great to see the progress and I don't know, there's something Christmassy about getting something in the mail in today's world.
Absolutely. Cool. We'll make that happen. Well, thank you guys. So so as a longtime client of JWB, if you could speak to your former self before you started to invest, what would you tell yourself about the decision to park your money with JWB? What would you say?
Get started as soon as you can.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is great because you're putting the word out in a lot more channels and a lot more, you know, with social media, you're able to get in touch with a lot of people. And, you know, everyone's online these days, especially the young kids. I mean, if you get someone who's, you know, gets smart and wises up to this and realizes, like, if I jump on this, and how old am I? I'm in my 20s or something. And you can start whenever, but like the ability to reach so much more people. Can you imagine if we'd started this, Jen, like 20 years ago?
Right.
I say the same thing.
You have time to do this.
Yeah.
You know, so time is what we have, and you start sooner. It's like anything else, it's better.
And you know, it's funny too, because if I could talk to my old self, I'd say, stop spending so much damn money on food. Stop spending money, save your damn money and buy more houses.
Yeah. Especially when you're young, right? Especially when you can eat ramen noodles, like, you know, in college or whatever, right after college, like I did, right? Stop spending all that stuff. Just start to, it's not like you have to live like that for a long time, but while you're young, if you can just really understand these concepts, invest in your education. Oh my goodness. I mean, the amount of steps forward you can take if you can do this in your 20s or early 30s compared to starting in your 40s or 50s is just incredible. So I'm totally with you there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always been the goal. You know, life has its way of like taking your dreams and kind of delaying them a little bit, right? So like I've always had the goal ever since 2012. I want to buy a property every single year. But that isn't always how life or the economy or the job or, you know, sometimes the car breaks down and there's different things. So you can't really beat yourself up for spending money on other stuff. But yes, the goal is still to buy a property every year, and we are accomplishing that now.
And you know what? So I was kind of making a joke as to whether or not you just do it for me and the support, or if it's the value of the show. But how cool is it for the show that you guys were on? And I think we were talking about a previous episode talking about how low interest rates are. Will you share with everybody what happened after that show and as far as accomplishing that goal that you have?
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is so great. So for all of y'all on the fence, like I actually threw out the question, why would anyone buy at the top of the market? Remember, I was like so ballsy. I'm like, why? And everyone in the comment section is like, low interest rates. I'm like, yeah. And I just had it in my head that we had to have an X amount of money. And I was, I don't have it. And so I don't know who started the ball rolling, you or Mike Stetson. I don't know. I got this call like, you know, we could do something. And I'm like, and then they spelled out the numbers. I'm like, well, shit, we can do something. Well, let's.
Yeah, because you got started 9 years ago. You built up equity as the property appreciated. And guess what? you could use that money to go ahead and accomplish that passive income goal.
Yes, so true. So it was like, oh, so what's really cool, guys, is that you take our negative thoughts and you know, 'cause you actually are money magicians. You actually help us find solutions, help us find ways of solving that problem, you know, and that's really cool in the year of COVID. I mean, come on, that's fantastic. So thank you for being the problem solvers. Thank you for making it so easy. And here's another thing, like, again, I think a lot of people know this about us. We are here in our apartment in Monterey, California. We do not own this place. It would be lovely, but boy, we'd have to, you know, we'd have to sign on for $1 million mortgage.
Sure.
No, thanks. But the thing is that, you know, there are ways of investing, and there are ways of being unconventional. You don't have to buy your first property that you live in. You can invest. We know that JWB is our retirement plan, right? We have things in the stock market as well, but we just know that our heart is with you guys because you guys make it so good, right?
You know what? We love that you place that trust in us, right? Like when we were thinking about how we were going to build our business, we're like, do we want to be those people that only teach people how to do this? Or do we want to be the people that people give their money to us and then we return much more back to them after a period of years? And I think both can be great companies, but it comes down to kind of like intrinsically like how you're built. And we wanted to be that company that you guys could put your trust for your retirement account in. You know, it's just how we're built. So thank you guys for the trust, for the relationship. I know our relationship is we're just going higher and higher. I mean, it's so cool that our relationship has continued to grow this year. I think even more than it did the previous 3 years, right? I mean, it's kind of like a renewal of sorts. So, and super excited to help you guys grow your business too with the book and whatnot. So what's the name of the book again, and how do they find it?
The Give to Get Principle, and it's all about relationships and reciprocity. When you give, you always get back more. JWB is living this principle every single day. So it doesn't matter if you're a business owner or an employee or a manager of a company. If you interact with customers, you will love this book, and it's free. And we're this close to being #1. We're #1 in advertising category on Amazon. We're #2 in marketing, and we're #4 in 2-hour business and money short reads. Please go download the book. It's free.
I feel like you got like the stock ticker on the side. Like it's like to the minute, there's like thousands of orders coming in. We're like, all right, we're there. Go to the book, go get the book. How do we find it? It's on Amazon, The Give to Get Principle, right?
Yep. The Give to Get Principle by Jennifer Filson. Please download it. It's free. Enjoy it. And it's going to end at the end of the day. So sorry for the sales pitch. It's really not. It's a gift. But I'm just so excited because you're right. I've got the ticker tape going.
Nice. Very cool.
All right. Thank you, Jenna and Renee. Listen, Jenna and Renee, I gotta say, y'all were the first people that really materialized the community aspect of this, right? Like I started feeling, you know, there is something more here. I'm starting to get reached out to people. Jen in her episode not only taught me that it's okay to invest in a rental income property before buying my own home, but also she was the one that really started, you know, pointing out the community piece outside of just us talking about it, which I thought was really good. And now the MVP of the community, just like in Jaws, they only talk about the shark for a while and then you see it at the end. Here's the shark himself, Lee Bishop. Welcome, Lee Bishop. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. How are you guys doing? Much better feed than the first time I was on with everything going.
The IT guy with IT problems, man.
As soon as I mentioned that, right? I was like, oh my God, here we go. You guys must have taken hours to fix that video to make it look half presentable. You know, I'm impressed.
It wasn't too bad, man. That's what we're here to do. Lee, man, you have just been the like super pumped, but you know, like you and Marilyn have been neck and neck. We edged it out a little bit with you. You've just been like a major promoter of, you know, the show, JWB, your experience. You like reach out to people on your own to tell, you know, like Man, what drives that? Like what what's coming out of you that is so giving to us, man? It's really incredible.
Well, I tell you, it started with we were talking to our investor guys, and our investor guys were saying, you guys are at the 95th percentile in your retirement portfolio, and you should be able to live at the same level that you live now with your retirement in your retirement age. And my wife was like, wait a minute, we got 2 weeks off now, and we're going to have 365 days off. And I don't want to just wait until I can only use 2 weeks to do a cruise or whatever. So we started, looking around at what can we do to make this money work for us. And I had, retired after 40 years of IT. And then my wife said, become a real estate investor. I'm going, I got to swing a hammer. I'm really looking forward to doing that. And she said, no, let's go to this class and see what they have to say. So I joined Fortune Builders, and Fortune Builders said, one of their programs was protecting your money. And JWB was one of the people in the passive income turnkey providers that they put out there. And once we talked to a couple of, I think at the time they had a couple other companies, and we talked to Mike Stetson, and I got to go to Vegas in December, and I met Gregg, and I said, oh man, this guy knows what the heck is going on here. So I tell you, the confidence that my wife has, because we went down this route, has been amazing. She said that. I put that in a thing, and Gregg said, can I use that? I was like, heck yeah, because that's how we feel. I mean, it really is. When we got into this, we said, all right, let's see what it's about. Let's do one. And I think we bought our first house. It was Thanksgiving week last year. And once I did, I paid the cash for one. And I was talking to the portfolio manager, and I was like, look, I want to get 5, so what can we do? And that's when Gregg and everybody was talking about, and I was learning about the non-recourse loans. So I was like, oh man, this is great. So we got this non-recourse loan set up for, Gregg's guys had somebody that could work with us. And, I was at the time, I was like, do I want to get my own funding and all that? And Gregg's like, don't do that. Don't do that. We work with people. They got problems. We don't want you to have any problems. And we appreciated that. We were like, oh man, I don't want any problems going into this thing. So that's how it came out. And I tell you, honestly, the trust and the transparency that we see week in and week out, the questions. I had an issue early on in one of my houses, and we went down there for a visit. That's when I first met Pablo. And I said, Gregg, can I talk about this? And he said, tell anybody you want. We're not hiding anything. You had an issue, talk about it. It just makes us, more accountable to you as an investor. And I said, oh my God, I can't believe this. I'm like, we were going around in a bus, looking at all the houses and everything. I'm going, that's my house. That looks brand new. So I was like, oh, geez, these guys are on top of it. And I never saw anything. So that's a credit to JWB and how they support the investors. Not only did they take care of me, I didn't have to turn in an insurance claim on what was going on. And it was kind of neat. I got to say, we were impressed. And then that was the first time I met you, Pablo, was down there. I was doing a client testimonial.
Yep.
I had all these things all written up, 2 pages or something, 3 pages all written up. And Gregg said, "This guy knows. He's gonna be prepared."
Yeah,
and
I remember meeting you in Vegas, and I was like, "Man, this guy is prepared. I have never seen somebody so prepared." Even for that one too, I was like, "Lee, I don't even know what to say."
I don't mess around.
Lee, I remember that testimonial because you gave this testimonial and then you got up. I was like, dude, I feel like I gotta hug you, man. You remember?
I was gonna talk about it. I said, how about, can I hug you? Pablo, can I hug you? And I give you a hug. And then, Gregg comes in and I hug him and he says, oh, I see how he's hugging. I just gave him kind of one of these little, here's a pat on the back. And he said, can I get a do-over? I was like, oh, all right.
I went in for the real thing, right? Just trying to make sure. I'm a hugger. Non-COVID times, I'm a hugger. I mean, what do you mean?
I know. and then Pablo said, "Oh, I missed out on something here."
Yeah. We're all huggers here. Lee, quick question. You're a super prepared, super educated investor, and yet you show up here twice a week, every week almost, right? Like,
Right.
what have you been able to learn, just, despite your like vast education? Is there anything that you've learned new here? Is there anything that has stood out that you hadn't already learned? Has it been mostly just reiteration of concepts for you?
Well, to be honest with you, you never stop learning. You never know when you're going to get that golden nugget. You never know where you're going to get the next. This is the aha moment, and JWB and Greg and you, and I mean, I remember when you first started talking, right? You were saying, I'm going to ask the questions, and I kept trying to put little questions out there for you to ask and all that stuff in the beginning. And I think at one point you were like, I'm not sure if I know what I'm asking, but I'm just going to ask you because I trust Lee, which I gave you credit for that, because I was saying, like, Pablo, ask him this, and they were kind of softball questions that Greg could knock out of the park. And every time he did, and I was like, all right. But when you were talking about, like, Jake said, the 5 methods, well, I'm not, because, I'm not going to be able to take advantage of the tax savings. But, I learned about 1031, rolling over to, you never know what you're going to see from week to week. And I try and ask, like, I'm looking at the properties of the week, and I'm going, oh, he's got something out there. I've got to ask about that. And I put these questions out there, and Greg knocks them out of the park. It's wonderful, I mean.
You don't lob out softballs anymore, though, Lee. Now you're coming with the real stuff. Now I like it. You keep me on my toes now.
Well, I didn't want you to get to a point where you were saying, I don't know about that, and have people start to lose that confidence that you give when you give these answers, and now I'm saying, he does know all that stuff. I can ask him whatever I want now. So I don't hesitate. I let it out there. I let it go. I told a whole bunch of people, at first when you guys started out, you were like, no, let's just keep it to the JWB investment group. You remember that? And then you said, I think you should invite whoever you want to invite. I tried to invite one of these girls that I had that I'm friends with in Pennsylvania, and she got on, and they said, no, you can't get on. And I was like, well, that's disappointing. And I think we talked about it at one point, and you guys said, yeah, let's open this up. So then once it opened up, that's when it started snowballing, because you guys do provide information that I think is interesting. Not only that, but you guys get along well. It's great to see. It's fun. I sit here and I'm watching you guys just like this, right on this PC, and I'm laughing, and I'm going, oh my God, these guys are nuts together. It's fun. I want to be a part of that. I want to be friends with these guys, and I feel like I am. I mean, it's been a year of back and forth and listening, and I'm typing, and that's kind of hard to type all the time, but I get my digs in on Pablo, and he chewing his lip and getting ready to do it, and they accidentally keeps it on, and I say, oh, we caught him.
The IT face.
Well, Lee, you certainly are a part of it, man. Like, you've said it a couple of times. It's like hanging out with friends. I feel like we're hanging out with friends here. I want to invite anybody that's wants to be a part of this to the Facebook group. If you're not a part of it already, jwbfacebookgroup.com. That's kind of where we're all hanging out with in between these shows and throughout the week, talking to each other. We're at 1,950 people. So we're only like 40 people short of 2,000, which we would love to break, just purely ego driven. We would love to break that number. But being honest here. So if anybody, if you can invite people yourself, right? So like Lee, I know you've invited a bunch of people. So if you just go in there, invite 10 friends, invite 15 friends, whatever you want to do. I would love to see that hit 2,000. Man, this has been incredible. Lee, you've been amazing throughout the whole thing. Marilyn, Jen, Bill, everybody that's been a part of this. John Aclaggy, who is right now offering to come on, but we're like way over. Greg promised me to keep this at only 1 hour because he's got to do something with his kids, but we've clearly gone way over right now. Miguel said in the chat that he's got to go. Merry Christmas. Y'all are my second family now. That's unbelievable, right? Like it's really the feeling, the real sense of community that we feel from our friends here that show up every single week, and the questions that are asked, and on a very personal level, it's created an incredible friendship between Gregg and I that I'm very, very grateful for as well. So and with everybody else individually here. So I just want to say, whether it's whatever you're celebrating, Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever you're into, New Year's, this really is like the holiday spirit of community, and everybody being able to heal together through a very, very tough year. And this has been an incredible platform that I've had a great honor to just be the mouth of. At the end of the day, this community existed. It just needed a stage to coalesce under, and a guy like Gregg that would really, like everybody has said, been honest, been transparent, led with value, led with sincerity, led with integrity. And I don't know if I could ever. I feel like Jordan winning their first championship, like I don't think you could ever reconstruct the journey that we've been on. No matter, I'm excited to see where it is next year. I know that we're definitely leaning into having more and more client stories, more and more people that are part of the group, on the stage to share their stories. Next week is going to be an unbelievable story of Zach Correa, who, really personifies the Not Your Average Investor moniker. He has gone from horse racing to alpaca farms to real estate, and he's got this formula that he's applied in all of them, and it's fascinating. So that's what's happening. We're off on Thursday, but I can't stop gushing about how great all of this stuff is. And I just, Gregg, I'm going to give you the last word, because it's really been what you and Alex set out to do in 2006, what you have started that's led to this. You've been the captain of the ship, right? Like the GC, the general contractor of constructing this community, however you want to put it, man. Thank you so much for, being a part of this. This is amazing.
Pablo, you said so much there that is just 100% just nails, just dead on, right? I mean, this community is something that's really special. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, everybody who was on the show today. And thank you, all of you who have been a part of the show. As I've said a few times, and I don't know if you know the impact that it has on Pablo and myself, just personally, as far as just kind of like accomplishing little milestones along the way, which mean more to us than, this sale or that sale or this or that, right? It's kind of you've got a little baby that we've kind of been creating, and you guys have strengthened that. You've kind of built it up from the very beginning, and it would be nothing without you. So thank you so much. I was just thinking about this, the friendships that we've created as a part of this community are real. And I was just thinking about it. It's like, I have a lot of really good friends out there that I don't spend 2 hours with a week. I don't spend FaceTime with 2 hours a week with some of my very best friends out there. And when you spend that amount of time, it's kind of like what we were talking about before. There's no substitute for time spent. You build friendships, you build relationships, you bring value. And I can't tell you the value that's been brought from people like Lee, right? Other guests that we've had on the show. I know we're going to bring a lot of value next week too, when we listen to Zach's story. I mean, wow, just wait for that one. But just a heartfelt thank you to you all. It's been an incredible gift that you guys have given us this year as we go into Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and New Year's, as we celebrate all these really great times. Just, I want you all to know how much it's meant to me, and I really, really appreciate you.
All right. Happy holidays, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.